My name is Nicole Pacini. I am the author of the unBITTER Bitch, the Blueprint Journal. I am also a writer. I am an artist. I am a creator. I am an influencer. And I am the founder and creator of the unBITTER Bitch brand and the unBITTER Bitch podcast. Okay, I'm excited. As you can see, it is the first season of the unBITTER Bitch podcast, and I could not be happier, but I'm also a little bit nervous and I'm also really anxious just to get everybody's feedback. The first season of the unBITTER Bitch podcast is me having a conversation with each of my children. What that will show you is some of who I am, and it will also give you a little bit of light, shed a little bit of light on how I parented my children. The core mission of the unBITTER Bitch podcast is to embolden women through avenues of healing, transparency, accountability, and self empowerment. Isaiah, we're live.
What's
We're
up?
recording. Hi, Isaiah. What's up? How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Mom?
I am doing good today. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Of
Thank you for
course.
inviting me.
Yes. Well, you want to introduce yourself on the unBITTER Bitch podcast platform?
Yeah. Hi, y'all. My name is Isaiah. I'm the last born of Mom's 6 children.
Why are you looking like that? How many do you know? I have 6.
It just sounds crazy to say every time. So
You
you
should be
know.
used to it by now.
Yeah. So I'm the youngest of 6 children. My name's Isaiah, and how y'all doing? Mm.
All right. Thanks for the introduction. Well, you know why we're here today. So for those of you who have been following the unBITTER Bitch podcast, I decided to do my first season with my children. I gave them the opportunity to ask me questions, any type of questions that they want. And it's the opportunity for you all to view me or get to know me through my children's lens and questions that they have for me. So Isaiah's going to start off by telling me what were your thoughts when I first asked you to be a part of season 1 unBITTER Bitch podcast. What were your thoughts?
It was exciting to me because, recently I've been wanting to do a podcast myself. So, it's exciting to see, be a part of one and also kind of get a feeling for, how it is and, how to do it and stuff like that. And for it to be about you and, kind of your history, not only that, like a mother's hood. I think it's good that you could share your story to other people that maybe needs to hear it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
What do you want to do a podcast on?
Hey, I'm smart and I know a lot, and there's a lot that needs to be told, and
Yeah,
all I do is talk. So,
fact.
all I do is talk. So, it'd be fun. It'd be entertaining. Do it with my friends. We talked about it a lot.
Okay.
So maybe,
So an entertainment podcast.
yes.
Okay. Talking about a little bit of everything.
Yeah, everything.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to discuss that. So I can give you some tips on how this all works
All right.
once I get my analytics done. Okay. So Isaiah, this is your second time recording. First time. It wasn't bad or anything like that, but I didn't like the way my makeup looked. And so I was like, we need to do it over. So thank you for doing this twice.
Yeah.
Okay. It gave us the ability to see, and you were first too. So you were first. So it gave us the ability to kind of see what we needed to do moving forward. And it also helped me to improve with the way that I answer questions with the other
Yeah.
siblings. So thank you for that. All right. Well, let's get started. Let's get right into it. I'm ready for your questions. Let's go.
Okay. So my first question is, what were you like at my age?
At the age you are now?
Yeah.
At 20? Oh my goodness. What was I like at 20? I was still living in Chicago. Taurus and Jasmine were just 1 and 2 years old because Jasmine was born when I was 19 and Taurus was born when I was 18. So I had 2 kids. I think at the time I worked at my friend Stacy. Her and her family owned, I think, like 3 gas stations in Chicago, and I used to work at one of their gas stations. And I worked. I went to school for a little bit. So I was a typical, young woman, young girl, still trying to figure out life. But I had 2 kids to take care
Yeah.
of. And so there were still things that I wanted to do. And I still wanted to hang out with my friends, but for the most part, I was a mom and working. That was really it. But still smart, like I said before, I've always been really smart, really courageous. I've always been a leader, not a follower. Always journaled, just always just had a real zest for life, but still trying to figure out who I was as a person. I had the same friends from high school. Most of my friends went to college when we graduated from high school. They didn't have kids. I had no friends that had kids. I was the only person that graduated from high school that and with my in my friend group that had kids. No one else had kids. But I still maintained most of those friendships. And so when they would come home from college, we would get together, we would hang out, we would go out. So yeah, at 20, just being a mom and working. Yeah.
So you having 2 children at the time, did you think you still, had your fair share of entertainment or, just having
Mhm.
fun?
Absolutely. See, back in the day, what we used to do, and I'm talking about back in my day, what we would do is, and probably that people older than me too, but we used to have house parties a lot. And so the house parties were so that you could be at home with the kids. Like the kids would be in one room and you all to be in the other room,
Right,
the
right.
adults, and then you'd be doing your thing in the other room while the
Yeah.
kids are upstairs. And even sometimes, your friends who had kids, they would come over and they would just be in the room with the other kids. So a lot of times I used to have a lot of house parties, probably not appropriate type of parties, but we did a little something, something at the parties. But no, I was still able to, do a little of the things with my friends. Yeah. I wasn't just restricted to just being at home. I would have a babysitter and I was able to actually do a lot. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
You happy to hear that?
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Yeah. I mean, hey, of course.
Yeah, but you have to have a good support system too. When you're a young parent, you have to have people around you that will support you. So as long as you have that, you'll be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely important to have a good family behind you to help you.
Mhm.
And okay. So, what are some historical events you have lived through, and what was it like?
Historical events. Oh, the one thing I remember is 9/11.
Mm,
When 9/11 happened, I think we were living, you weren't born yet, of course, but we were living on Portland. Me and Jasmine Torres, Ryan and Kennedy, and they were young. Do you remember not what year 9/11 happened? I don't even remember what year it
two,
was.
2000 and like one or so, 2000 something like that. I don't know.
Okay, that might be accurate. But yeah, so Ryan and Kennedy were, yeah, because they were in daycare at the
Mm.
time, and I was at school, or was I at home? I can't remember where I was, but I immediately went to pick up my kids from school and brought them home because I was like, oh my God, the world is crumbling down, and it was like we don't know what's happening, and we need to go home and sit in front of the TV. And so when I first heard the news, that is what, everybody was just scared and we didn't know what was going on. Is it going to hit your city next? Like, what's going
Mm.
on? So that was one historical moment. Let's see what else. Oh, O.J. Simpson, the O.J. Simpson trial. That was a big deal. That was a big deal. I was going to the University of Minnesota during that trial, and I would come home every day because it was televised. And I would come home every day and watch that O.J. Simpson trial. And his attorney, Johnny Cochran, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. You ever heard that term? Okay. So Johnny Cochran was a Black attorney. He was OJ's main attorney, one of his attorneys. And they found, so when his ex-wife was found murdered, there was a glove, a black leather glove that was found at the scene. And so it didn't fit OJ's hand. So Johnny Cochran came up with that term: if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. And so that's like a popular little saying. That was so the OJ trial. Let me think what else. Oh, witnessing our first Black president being
I remember that.
Sworn in, being able to vote during that time. That was a huge thing. And just watching the numbers come in, sitting in front of the TV. We were living in the townhouse at that time. And so that was very historical. I mean, I'm sure there's probably many more, but those are some of the things that I can really pinpoint. Memorable. And then also, what'd you say?
Them was the most memorable?
Yeah, those are the most memorable. And then even the murder of George Floyd was something that I think is very memorable, especially because we live in Minneapolis and we were right here. We experienced all the trauma, all the fires, all the looting, all the tearing up. There was a curfew going on. It was coronavirus, So I think that's another memorable historical thing, is going through COVID in 2020. So it's been a lot in my 50 years, but those are the things that really stand out.
Yeah, George Floyd, that's going to be something I'm going to be telling my kids about for sure. It was.
But make sure you say the murder of George Floyd.
Yeah, the murder of
George Floyd's murder.
Yeah,
because we want to continue to give the situation what it is. It's not George Floyd. It's his murder. And so we got to make sure we're saying those words, because he's not just George Floyd. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay. So what did you want to be when you were growing up, right? Maybe around during, just going to say during school days, like what did you want to be when you grew up? Yeah.
I wanted to be an artist, which is crazy because I'm an artist now, but I wanted to draw and paint more so, right? And when I was younger, I used to draw a lot, but I didn't have the additional cultivated skills to really be an artist and practice and things like that. Similar to, Elijah, when he started drawing, and then for whatever reason, he put the pencil down and stopped. That was me. And so I wish I would have taken art classes. I wish I would have, had someone recognize that in me and say, hey, let's see if we can put you in art class, put you some lessons so you can cultivate that. So it wasn't until later on that I really got back into drawing and painting and things like that. But overall, just a really creative person, artistic. There was a time when I was in high school when you have to meet with your counselors and they go over all the professional development and stuff like that with you. They go over things as far as like, what are the jobs that are going on right now where you can make money? And then what do you like to do? Like, what's your skill set? So they would look at your grades and they would say, like based on your grades and your academics, we see you being good in this field.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, since I'm good at math and good at science, I'm going to be an engineer. So then I went, and they paid civil engineers make a lot of money. So I'm thinking like, okay, I want to make a lot of money. So I'm going to become a civil engineer. But that really wasn't realistic once I got to college, because those courses were very hard, super, super hard. And then I had kids. I was hella distracted, didn't really focus like I should have. So that was tough. But yeah, it was an artist and a civil engineer. But the civil engineer is not nothing I wanted to really be. It was a profession that I could do to make money. It wasn't like it was a dream of mine. So yeah.
Okay. So would you still, if you had the opportunity to do it today, would you do it?
Become a civil engineer, or an art. Well, I'm pretty much an artist, but I think yeah, I think I would take art classes. I'm actually taking a class right now on YouTube University, which is cool because
Oh,
it's free. There's just
yeah.
people just
Mm.
teaching you how to do art and sketching and stuff like that. I started last week. But the civil engineer, I think if I would have had the right coaching at the time and the right support system and tutors and things like that, I think I could have potentially done that, but it's definitely not something I'm interested in now. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
There's definitely a
I
few
like
things.
I like my freedom. I like to work for myself.
Yeah.
I like being the boss, making the decisions and things like
Hmm.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. You even saying what the job is sound like a lot of work. So, you know,
Yeah.
I forgot what you said already.
It's
Um,
the civil engineers, if I can get it correct, civil engineers create the maps and the blueprints for like roads and bridges.
oh, okay.
So think about if somebody is building a bridge, a civil engineer would basically put the blueprint together for them to build it. And that all is math. All is
Oh
math.
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
we talking about next level intelligence.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's why they make a lot
So
of money.
yeah. Okay. So what does it feel like to be my mom? My mom. Mine.
Like your mom, like through all the other kids you got. uh, Isaiah, you have grown up so much in a short amount of time, and so when I look at you from when was that
Mm.
2021 till now, dang, 2021, is that when y'all you came back to live with me in 2021, right?
Yeah.
um so when I think about the Isaiah before 2021 and then after 2021 until now, it's like three different people just in a short span of time.
Yeah, I
Just in
know.
a just in a short span of time. And so I love seeing the different ways that you've grown and still are growing. And I know like me and you have had lots of issues with your with this part, and we've managed to get through all of that, but through all of it you still always apologize when it was all said and done. um so I respect that in you, to actually acknowledge that you weren't always respectful sometimes, and so you would correct yourself and you would apologize. So I appreciate that. But
Mm.
it's a blessing to be your mom. It's really great, like I said, to see you just sit back and acknowledge, some of the things that you needed to grow on. Super proud that you stuck it in and graduated high school. That was a little. I was like, man, at the rate Isaiah is going, I'm a little concerned here.
Mm.
So but y'all being the youngest, being boys, being black boys, it's always been with you and your brother. It's like a little. It's that concern. It's the concern. Even like when you have your hood on, just now, but before we started recording and you had your hood on, I used to
Yeah.
be like, oh, I don't want them to go outside with their hoods on because they're gonna, be labeled as a thug or, a threat. But anyway, back to the question. Yeah, so yeah, just super, super proud. You're a good
Mhm.
person, very smart, very funny. I
Mm.
think you and Tori's probably the two funniest ones in the family.
Yeah, they
So
were literally just comparing me and Taurus the
yeah,
other night.
yeah. You and Taurus. And so you like the little light bright, of the family. We can't take you seriously all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, are you joking or are you serious? You and Ryan. I'm like, are y'all joking or y'all serious? But yeah, fun. You're fun to be around. You're more helpful now than you used to be. I swear I couldn't get you to do nothing. You're like, oh man, and now if you do it, you'd be like, okay. You're just like, okay, okay. But yeah, I love being your mom. I love seeing you continue to grow up. Continue on that path. Every year you'll get better and better. And I remember I used to tell you all the time, just be excellent in everything that you do. So I think you understand that more now than probably then. Because back then you was just like, okay, mom, okay. So I hope some of the things that I instilled in you will continue to resonate over the years.
I like that. Appreciate it. Thank you for all the good compliments.
You're welcome.
So, what was the first year of motherhood like for you?
It was interesting because I was still in high school when I had Taurus. So I think I said it in his podcast episode, but I'll say it again. I got pregnant in the year before I went to senior, the year before I went to my senior year. If that makes sense, did I say that right? The summer. I got pregnant the summer before my senior year. So when I went to school, nobody knew I was pregnant, but I was acting out a lot. Went to a Catholic school and I acted out a lot. They would just call me into the office all the time, but it wasn't really acting out. I had the mouth that you have.
Yeah.
And so it was getting in trouble from my mouth. And it was always, I was told to stop talking, be quiet. And there was just a lot of things that I used to question. And it was like, oh, just don't question. You can't question the Bible. It is what it is. Because it's in there,
Yeah.
So I would get in trouble a lot for that. And just challenging authority all the time. So always in detention, always got good grades, but always in detention, getting in trouble. So at some point they got sick of me and they basically kicked me out of school, expelled me from school. So I had to transfer to another high school and I had tours during my spring break. So I never missed school. I had them during spring break, went back to school like following week, graduated on time, with the new class. And then that summer, I ended up getting pregnant with Jasmine. So you talking about what was that like? That's what that was like. But wait, what was your question? Because I think
I said, what was your, no, yeah. I said, what was your first year of motherhood like?
Oh, my first year of motherhood. Okay, so had Taurus, and then within a year later, 364 days later, Jasmine was born. So it was quickly adapting to having a child, having to take care of this child, still being a teenager, still wanting to go out and do things with my friends, thinking about like, how do I support this child? I don't have a job. I had to go get public assistance, which I didn't want to. I did not want to do that. I hated having to go walk into that public aid office and get a welfare check and food stamps. I think I got WIC back then too. But yeah, so that was, from my recollection, that's what that was like. I mean, that was 35 years ago, almost 36 years ago. So it's a long time. My memory is not too keen, but I know it was definitely not easy.
I feel you. It was a long time ago. I mean, shoot, your firstborn, he's almost 40.
Forrest will be 36 next month. Which is almost 40. Okay.
We can cut that out if you want. So
there's no cuts here.
What advice would you give me for navigating relationships and, finding love?
Oh my goodness, Isaiah. Oh goodness. Navigating relationships and finding love. Haven't you found love?
I mean, I have, but
Okay.
we can, how to navigate through it out of, any advice.
So the first thing is that the person that you're in a relationship with, you should be best friends. Like that
Yeah.
person should be your best friend. So like outside of, the love relationship, can you be still friends if that don't work? You know what I mean? So that's the number one thing is like to be friends with the person that you are in a
Yeah.
relationship with. You don't have to go outside of your relationship to have a friendship with someone else. Like
Hmm.
your partner should be your best friend. Or at least one of your best friends. You got to consider that person like one of your best friends because you can have
Hmm.
multiple best friends, but like got to be one of your best friends. And then, just mutual respect and open communication. I think those three. So best friend, mutual respect, and then open communication. And open communications means being truthful, being transparent, so being honest in your feelings and your
Hmm.
thoughts. And that to me is going to be a secure relationship when you can actually talk to the person that you're in a relationship with about anything, your insecurities, your vulnerabilities. When you break down those walls and you're able to have those types of relationships with your partner, they will continue to blossom. Yeah. So those are my three things.
I definitely agree on the best friend aspect. I said it a lot in my relationship that, even though we are in a relationship outside of it, we still kind of share a good bond. So
Hmm.
that's definitely, I think, is the most important for sure. Um,
Yeah, because you want to be able to have fun. You want to be able to laugh. You want to just be able to, like they say, let your hair down and just be yourself.
yeah.
You don't want to be in a relationship with somebody and you're not showing up as your full self. So you got to be your full self in your relationship. And you're
That's
fun. So if you with somebody and they ain't trying to have fun, like that wouldn't even be the person for you.
mm, thank you. um, how do you want to be remembered by your loved ones?
I want to be remembered as a person who was a powerful, um, a powerful, generous, powerful, generous, straight shooter,
Mm,
compassionate. I want to be remembered as like those characteristics. Love. I'm not like a lovey. I hate saying the word all the time. Lovey dovey. Like I love the way that I love.
yeah.
So it's not. It may not be how everyone else loves, but I love deeply through like my bonds with
Mm,
people, how I choose to communicate with people through my openness and vulnerability. I want to be known, as somebody who, says does what they say they're gonna do. I want to be known for someone who was, like always had your back and supportive. So when I'm gone from this earth, that's what I want to hear people saying. Like Nicole was a real one. You know how they say that? Like Nicole
yeah.
was a real one.
Yeah.
Whatever she said she was going to do, she did it. She supported her people.
No, facts.
She supported her family. She supports most people in there, especially Black people, because that's
Mm,
my thing. But yeah, I want people to remember that. Remember my brilliance. Remember, my grit, my tenacity. The efforts that I put out into the world. My books that I've written and published, and how
mm,
those will continue to live on way past, you know, um, me not being here anymore. So yeah, and of course, then I want my children to, talk to their children and their children's children about the type of person that I was, and hope they will look at me, even though if they don't know me, if I'm not here, and be like, "Wow, she was an amazing woman."
Yeah. Yeah,
Fact.
I say that. Hey, I say that now. So
You say that now?
yeah,
Oh, thank you.
of course. Um, what is your favorite childhood memory with me,
With you?
or one that you could remember?
Right. Favorite childhood memory of you. This is not a favorite, but I remember it's not a favorite. It's a funny situation though. When we lived in a townhouse and you and your brother got into it about the broccoli.
About the it was no, it was about that vegan meatball.
It was with the meatball.
Yeah,
I thought it was about
vegan.
the broccoli.
No, it was a vegan meatball.
It was not a vegan meatball. I
I
wasn't
promise
even
you,
vegan back then.
it was a vegan. It was like a vegan meatball. I remember I ate it. I tossed it right under the little shelf, right underneath and it rolled and everything. I remember it.
Yeah, but that was the way, the way you, I was so mad at you though, because you sat and lied about that thing. Was it a meatball? It was a meatball.
But yeah, I
You,
promise you, it was like gray. It had some like vegetables, something in it. I don't know.
man, you lied about that meatball, Isaiah, and you let your brother get in trouble. Oh my goodness. I was like, mm-mm-mm. After that, I came back in that room and I was like, so you just gonna let your brother get in trouble and you're not gonna admit to doing things. But like you were mischievous, very mischievous as a
Mm.
kid. Very mischievous as a kid. And because y'all were like the youngest of the family, you're able to get away with probably a lot more. And by you having a twin brother, and y'all used to be able to do things together,
Yeah.
so it was almost just, it was, y'all was a hot mess as little kids. It was funny. But so that's not like a favorite memory, but it's just a memory kind of that stands out. Um yeah. I mean, we've had lots of fun times. I can't think of anything that like just really like just stands out. We just like had a good old time, because we had good times all the time.
Trials and tribulations.
Oh my goodness, yes, yes. But I'll keep thinking about that because something else might come up later.
Okay.
Okay.
What's one thing you wish you had done differently as a parent? Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Well, probably not have as many kids as I did. For real, because seriously, when I think back on just some of the poor decisions that I made as a young adult, and we all make poor decisions as young people because we don't know a lot. We
Yeah.
really don't know about a lot. But when I was pregnant with Taurus, I had enough shame and judgment from people because I was pregnant and I was in high school and I was a
Mm.
parent, so I had enough of that going on. But then to do it again, it's like, oh, it's tenfold now. You got two kids. Oh, you really ain't gonna be doing nothing with your life. Oh, you really ain't gonna make it nowhere.
Mm.
Because at the time the statistics showed that was the case. But don't put that on me. That's not my destiny.
Yeah.
Don't put that negativity on to me. um, so there was not a lot of encouraging words during that time. But again, I'm the kind of kid that what I do, march to the beat of my own drum, make my decisions how I want to make my decisions, and we just gonna call it that. But I don't think we think about how hard it is, because it's one thing to just be a mother and have a baby, but to be a parent takes you outside of who you are, you know? And so I mentioned a lot in this podcast how I spent several years and years of my life trying to figure out who I was. Who is Nicole outside
Yeah.
of being a parent, outside of being a mother? Who are you? and spent a lot of time, lots and lots of time trying to cultivate that and get that feeling of, okay, this is who I am and this is what I stand for. Um, so that probably would be one of the things. I probably would have paused a little bit on making children.
Yeah.
And focusing more on myself and who I am and who I want to become in life. So that was something that I had to really sit with as I got older because I wasn't making the best decisions, and that's how I ended up being pregnant. Like I wasn't making the best decisions. I shouldn't have been having unprotected sex. I shouldn't have been even having sex with people I was having sex with. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of. And so, irresponsible, but I was young. So irresponsible but young. Wait, and then ask me the question again, because I always feel like I go off track. What's the question again?
I asked you,
what was it like being a parent at a young age? Was that it?
No, I asked you, dang mom, you kind of just,
I know.
kind of just threw me off a little bit.
I know. I'm sorry.
I asked you, I don't know. I'm pretty sure you answered it though.
I know. See, this is why. So the goal for this conversation is to try to give more context to things. So as I try to give more context to things,
just
I
go
even
too
forget.
far.
Yeah, I go too far, and then I'm like, oh, okay. So I should,
Yeah.
it becomes.
Oh, I said, I pretty much just asked you, just like, what kind of, it was kind of, you kind of just telling me like, what would you just did differently?
I will, yeah, right. And I said not have more kids. But considering that I did have those kids, probably would have took some parenting, probably should have taken some parenting classes, but not like, I don't know what parenting classes are. I've never taken a parenting class. I feel like parenting classes are how to change your baby, like how to settle the baby down, how to feed the baby, how to nurse the baby. But babies grow up. Babies grow up. They become toddlers. Then they become, little people, and then they get ready to go to school full time. So through all the phases that your children go through, there's no blueprint for that. There's not a book, or maybe they are now, and maybe they were then. I don't know, but it's not even based off of like a curriculum that you would have about raising children. It's really about, your feelings, what you're experiencing and what you're going through. Like people who are going through their own thing, it's hard for them to raise healthy children sometimes because they're bringing their trauma into their children.
Yeah.
And so it was a little bit of that too, but it's also me still processing some of the things that I used to go through in life, and how before you were born, just kind of projecting a little bit of that anger off into the kids because I wasn't feeling so good about what I was doing. I wasn't feeling so good about how my life was going. And so it was, a little bit of that. But like I said, once you're outside of that space, you get the time to really sit back and say, okay, I did make some poor decisions. That reflection time. You got to be able to have that reflection time. And then you also have to be, as a parent, be able to, listen to the wisdom of your children and their experiences. And so once I was able to do that, I was like, okay, that would be another thing too, is to allow your children. What I would have done was allow my children to have those conversations, because it was like, you're a child, you don't know what you're talking about. Be quiet. So that's definitely one of the things I would have done differently. And I wish I would have went to therapy. If I had access to what that actually looked like, I wish I would have been able to go to therapy, because I think that would have helped me a lot, especially with some of the things that I was really angry about as as a child growing up. So yeah, those types of things.
Okay. It's nice to know. Yeah, I mean, Yeah. I think I probably got one more question for you at most.
Okay, I think we're good.
Okay. See, what can I ask here? Okay. So, what do you want most for your grandkids?
Well, we live in a crazy world right now. We do. So when I think about like how innocent children are, and then but we bring them into this crazy world, bring them into this crazy world, but they're just innocent. It's really up to us to help and guide them through all the things. And so I would just want my grandkids, I have plethora of grandkids already, but I would want my grandkids, to know that they have a family that loves them and supports them, that they know that they are loved and valued. And I actually want my grandkids to be able to come and talk to me, and I want to be able to support whatever they have going on, whatever their dreams and hopes are. Like, I want to be able, to do that, spend time with my grandkids. Jasmine asked me, do I want to keep my grandkids? Would I keep my grandkids over the summer like Tusi used to keep them? And I said, well, I'll keep them, like, maybe not for the whole summer, but maybe like a month or something like that. And she's like, you'll do that? I was like, yeah, I keep the grandkids for a month. But yeah, so I don't know. It's I don't, like grandmothers back in the day were older. You know what I mean? Like they were old, like grandmas. And so when I look at myself, I don't see myself as like that grandma.
Like
but just like, what up though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, so yeah, but my grandkids, I love all my grandkids. They all have different personalities, and I just really love that about all of them. They are all very different. Oh, excuse me, all very different, but super dope kids. So yeah, I look forward to, hanging out with them more. And doing more things with them, and getting them away from their parents and experiencing some Grandma Cole for a little bit.
Grandma Cole,
yeah,
that's your name?
That's what they call me. You never heard them call me Grandma Cole?
Nah, that's crazy.
Yeah, because I think Taurus had Moselle, which started with Grandma Cole years ago.
That's what I want to start calling you, that
Grandma Cole. Yeah, but I want my grandkids to grow up and be productive, smart, grounded, loving, caring, and continue to, like, the whole thing about the family support, love their siblings, have a bond with their siblings.
Yeah.
Grow up to be who they want to be and not what society thinks that they should be.
Facts.
Yeah. The kids nowadays they grow up, this is a different time. Like when I was growing up, we didn't have internet, we didn't have social media, we didn't have computers when I was growing up. We listened to the radio. You know what I'm saying? That was about it. We had VHS tapes. We wanted to watch a movie, it was on a tape.
Yeah.
Streaming services, we had video games. We did have video games and things like that, but nothing to the degree of what we have now. So information back then, we had to go and find the information. We had to go into a library and check out a book and read the book. We had to go to look at encyclopedias. If we wanted to do research, we had to research at the library. There was no, we're gonna go on Google and just pick, you know what I'm saying? So this generation has, wow, so much more than we ever had.
Yeah.
But we had what we had in that generation. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like we didn't have things. We had what we needed, but now everything is at your fingertips. And so when they become older, I don't know what this, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what this world, we're going to be really living like the Jetsons. Probably. Yeah, but yeah, happy, loving, caring, fun. Make sure they
Persistent.
do what they make sure they're doing what they want to do and not what society wants them to do. Be who they are. And it's hard to get caught up in social media looking at what
Mm,
everybody else is doing and what they got going on. And half that stuff don't even be real, honestly.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I want that for you all and for my grandchildren, for sure.
Well, that was a nice conversation.
You're so funny. That was a nice conversation. It went by quick. So what do you like how do you feel about the podcast, moving forward? Like what are your hopes for the podcast? And like if you could just leave a final thought, to everyone listening and watching, what would that be?
um, well, I would love for this podcast to make it to everyone that this podcast needs to make it to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to share it as much as people can, spread the influence, and the love around. Thing I have to say to people is to live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people just exist, and that's
Mm.
it. So I don't know if that went over y'all heads or not, but yeah, that's what I have to say.
Yeah, living and existing is definitely two different things. Existing is just like you're just being.
Yeah.
Living is you're being, but you're productive. You're
Mm-hmm.
methodical. You're strategic. You're planning. You don't just sit and let the world deal with you. You deal with the world. Yeah.
That part.
So yeah. Um, and you're not complacent. Because this just being is fine. Like I feel like some days I'm being or becoming.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like in this transition phase of being still versus activating.
Yeah.
I'm just being still versus scratching, trying to figure
Mm-hmm.
things out all the time. Sometimes your mind and your body just needs to be still, so that you can, you know, hear the word of God and understand the direction that you need to take,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're asking for those things. And so sometimes you got to get still, cut the noise, you know.
Yeah.
But existing is waking up every day, being grateful, being thankful, moving and shaking.
Mm.
I'm sorry, living. Did I say existing? Living is getting up every day, moving and shaking. Existing is kind of like you just
Yeah.
like, what's your goal? What's your plan?
Mm-hmm.
What you trying to do? Who you trying to help? How you gonna make an impact? Are you gonna be influential? Like you said, like that type of thing. Because that's what we're on this world to do, be impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have a purpose here. What do you think your purpose is? Do you know your purpose?
Um, Man, I guess my purpose is to spread as much enjoyment as possible.
Okay, I like that.
So that's my job.
Okay. Well, I thank you, Isaiah, for doing this with me the second
Thank
time.
you.
Not
Yes.
even fussing about it.
It was longer than last time.
Yes, and not fussing about it. So we're gonna do a family circle. We'll have everybody up on the squares, and then we'll just do like a recap. So we'll do it after everybody's launches, and
Mm.
then it'll be interesting to get everybody's feedback and perspective about it. But this has been good for me. It's been a learning experience. Just even navigating systems and lighting and microphones, and it's been an experience, and it's been a good experience. And so I've had to actually go back and listen to some of the episodes and try to put pieces of content together. So it's definitely something I think you would like to do. Just all the background things that you got to do to get it published and recorded and put out into the world. It's a lot of work, but it's also very fulfilling. So yeah, I'm learning. I'm still learning. But this is good. So thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. That's it, I guess. So just wrap it up, and then I'll see you next time.
See you guys.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the unBITTER Bitch podcast. Come back next week and we'll be dropping another episode. Let me know your thoughts, leave a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.